Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ninth day of Tips for Successful Living. Welcome to the ninth day of Tips for Successful Living. Have you ever heard people make the statement, I'm not looking for challenge, I'm looking for bravery? The statement, I'm not looking for challenge, I'm looking for bravery. That will make us have the tip for today as take the first step. Take that first step. Most of the time, when we do something for the first time, when we engage in an activity, a program, a business, or a skill for the first time, we want people to think that we are already the best in that particular engagement. And usually, that's not always something easy to achieve. Most of the time, that's actually impossible for the most part. If you're doing something for the first time, you're probably not going to be at your best in that thing because you're doing it for the first time. I think reasonable people, most reasonable people understand that. But then for some reason, we still fight it in our head to try to make people think that we are at our best at this particular thing we're doing for the first time, and life does not work that way. Hence, people become so scared to take the first step they're supposed to take. So, and when you're talking about being afraid to take the first step, you're talking about fear of failure for the most part. We don't want people to think that we failed or we are failing, and that gives a situation that is not so true because failure is part of life. People fail every day, and the only reason why we don't know is people don't talk too much about their failure because we are in a world that we can describe as a result oriented world. People want to see good results and praise, oh, he's doing well, he's doing this, he has money, he's doing that. Then they celebrate you. But most of the time, people don't want to hear about the failure. Keep the failure to yourself. When you're successful, let us know about it. That's the kind of world we live in. So that makes people think that people that are successful or doing certain things, they've not failed at doing those things that they appear to be so good at now. And that's the big problem. And failure is so almost natural and normal to the extent that you can almost be convinced that every second somebody is failing somewhere. It's just that the person is not letting you know. You're not in the same space with the person, or they're not posting it on social media and say, well, I'm failing. We only post things that are showing success. So now that makes people assume that when they fail, they are alone. That's not true. When you're failing, other people are failing. It's not only you. The only thing you really have to take note of about failure is the fact that you have to learn from your failure. You have to learn from your failure. If you learn from your failure, then the mistakes that you're making, you don't have to repeat it again because now you know better and you're acting better. Another part of taking the first step that I've seen when I engage with people is I've seen a lot of people that are trying to ask for help or they actually ask for help even before taking the first step by themselves. And this is not really realistic because when you do that, that means that you're misleading the person that you're trying to ask for help from because You're saying, "Oh, I need help to do this," but then the person look at you and say, "Well, you're not doing anything anyways." So usually you get most help and you get support that you need when you actually take the first step. You do something, people see that you're doing something, you're genuinely doing something that is helpful, that is useful to you, to people around you, beyond yourself, then most likely you can get support from that. Usually people tend to support things like that. So if you're just joining, what we're talking about today is take the first step. And another thing I also want to say about taking the first step is the way life is built is in such a way that you cannot see all the road ahead. You cannot see clearly the path out through. And that's why when you go to interview, people ask you, what are your plans for the next 5 years? And usually people start saying stuff that they're not sure of. Start making things up. You're not even sure you're gonna sleep and wake up the following day. But then you're saying, "Oh, this is what is gonna happen in 5 years." Usually, most of the answers are very funny. Some of them are not accurate. But what you can do is to say that you project it. It's your dream. It's what you think can happen. But then you still have to live a day at a time. A day at a time. You take the first step. In the first year, you achieve certain things. In the second year, based on what you achieve in the first year, you can say, well, this is what is going to happen. This is what can happen in the second year. And that makes you to be able to say that in the first year, this is what I've done, this is the step I've taken, and based on the result that I have for this first year, this is my projection for the second year. That is more realistic than saying, well, in 10 years, this is going to happen. It's not as clear. That's why life is lived in stages. And when you take the first step, then the second step is going to be clear. The third step is clear. That's why it feels like there's a lot of patience that is needed to be able to do that. You have to just keep believing, keep hoping, take the first step, even though you're not so clear about what you're doing. But things get clearer and clearer every day as you keep taking a step. But if you just withdraw and want to have the full roadmap with every details before you start, that means you will never start. And a lot of people have done that, and I'm sure most of that will come with now feeling a lot of regret and things like that. So you don't want to have yourself in such situation. Take the first step now. The second step will become clear. The third comes, the fourth, the fifth. Then, of course, before you know it, you can now see whether what you said you're going to do in 5 years is realistic or something that is achievable. Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the tips for successful life journey. What we're talking about today is take the first step. Don't be so fearful. If you fail, that's okay. You can learn from the failure and do it again, do it again, do it again. And before you know it, you're going to be successful. And if you need help, ask for help at some point. Thank you for joining and listening to the tips for successful living today. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.